Well, a warm welcome along to our latest Euro 2024 preview show, brought to you by freesupertips.com, your home for daily football hackers and bet builders. Once again, it's Warren Ashurst and Mark Langdon with you to discuss the last 16 now of the European Championships. This is when the tournament really kicks in, and we'll have a look firstly at the outright market, and it's looking like a pretty lopsided draw in terms of the knockout stages. We'll get to that in a moment, but England are currently the 7-2 favourites to lift the trophy. Spain 9-2, Germany and France both 11-2, Netherlands around 12-1, and Italy and Austria 16-1. It's bigger the rest. And Mark, I suppose let's start off with that lopsided draw. England must be absolutely licking their lips, even if they're not playing that well, with what's coming up ahead of them.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Gareth Southgate, it seems to happen every time for him, doesn't he? That he ends up in the nice part of the draw. I mean, there's no way that England, on what we've seen on the pitch, deserve to be the European Championship favourites, because they've stunk the place out for 2.5 of their 3 games. But I think it's difficult to disagree with the kind of market, really, in terms of England being the favourites, because they've got Slovakia next, and then if they win that, it's Switzerland or Italy in the quarterfinals, and then a semi-final against one of Romania or Netherlands or Austria and Turkey. I mean, you can't really ask for a much easier run in terms of a European Championship. It's remarkable that England have got themselves into this position. Now, it doesn't mean that they will win all of those games and they will reach the final. In fact, I'm not sure that they will. But they've got an unbelievable opportunity. I was going to say they've never had a better opportunity, but I think we said that at the 2018 World Cup, and then again at the next European Championship, wasn't it? So it's the way it's worked out for Southgate. Look, they've got to take advantage. They've just got to improve. But even if they get past Slovakia, I think Switzerland have shown that they're a awkward side to play against, and Austria, you could argue, have been the team of the tournament so far. I know before we started, Warren, you were getting quite excited about them on the outright market.
Yeah, they were as big as 25-1 a couple of days ago. They have come into 16-1 now, but I suppose when you get to this stage of the competition, Mark, this might be where the experience of managers and tactical know-how might come into fruition a bit, and somebody like Ralph Rangnick's got that in abundance.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't. You couldn't disagree with that. Rangnick would be one of the better coaches in the competition. I suppose we've seen in previous tournaments, sometimes you get somebody that catches the eye in the group stage, and Austria and their gung-ho attitude kind of might get caught out at some stage in the tournament. And I don't know. I'm sort of just wary of them, I would say, just because I feel like I've seen this story before. I mean, in terms of the opposite, of course, of what England have got is the very difficult top half of the draw, where if it goes to form, then Spain will play Germany in one quarterfinal, and Portugal will play France in the other one, and then the winners of those will go on to the semi-finals. I think Spain have been the best team so far. They look very much in control. I look at that midfield; it looks balanced. There's pace out wide. Can they win all of their games without going to a penalty shootout? That's my biggest worry for Spain. They got knocked out of the Euros, didn't they? The last Euros by Italy on pens. At the World Cup, it was Morocco. They dominate matches and have done for a long time. It's just whether they've got those goal scorers, and I still have my doubts about Alvaro Morata, I would say. And then, so if I'm looking for a winner at this stage, Warren, I'm thinking France. They haven't played that well, but you said, Austria and how eye-catching they were. I mean, France were the better team against Austria, deserved to win. I know it was an own goal, but it was a fair result. They then drew with Netherlands when Mbappe wasn't fit, and the Poland game, on another day, they win that one sort of comfortably. So if France are sort of most people's idea of the best team, they were always going to have to beat a couple of the good sides anyway. It was looking like England and then somebody from that top half of the draw, the way that it would work out. England are not as good as they were. So I think basically, if they can get to the final, they'll probably win it. And I actually don't think their last 16 game against Belgium is as difficult as what it looks like on paper. They've still got very solid defence, a balanced and organised midfield, the best player in the tournament, Mbappe, loads of quality in other areas of the pitch. You know, that they haven't really put out their best team too often, have they? In this tournament. From Griezmann was rested for the third game, wasn't he? Mbappe didn't play in the second game, so I just wonder. Like, they're a bigger price now than what they were at the start of the tournament. Obviously, they've got a harder task in terms of who they've got to beat, but I haven't seen like Germany. I'm not like dazzled by Germany. I'm not wowed by Portugal. I think that they've been okay, and that they were my outright selection. I think that they've played probably about what I expected them to, and hoping that there's more to come from them. But I wouldn't be confident that Portugal would beat France in the quarterfinal. If France end up playing Spain in the semi-final, which might end up being the final, I still think I'd want to be with France, because nobody's tested that Spanish sort of defence yet, have they? And Mbappe and Griezmann and Dembele will do that. So I'm going to go for France to come through the top half of the draw. In the bottom half of the draw, I keep looking at it. I keep changing my mind. I'm going to go Netherlands. I mean, I think they've got. I nearly swore there. They've got a very easy. I think they've got a very easy looking game on paper against Romania in the last 16. Then it would be Austria or Turkey in the quarterfinals. Let's say it's Austria. Like, Netherlands didn't play Simons and they didn't play Dumfries in that game against Austria, who also rested a couple of players. But it was a game where it didn't feel like there was a huge amount riding on it, and that they both knew that they were effectively through. Austria just needed to not lose by 5 goals. I wouldn't be surprised if Netherlands beat Austria if them two met in the quarterfinals. Actually, if you look at Austria's expected goal difference against, they've given up a lot of opportunities in this tournament. And then you'd be looking, okay, right, well, the Dutch are in the semi-final. I mean, what, England, Italy, Switzerland. I'm not quite sure who comes through that real bottom section, but nothing stands out to me. I was just looking at Netherlands. I think got a very good defence with De Vrij and Van Dijk, and then you've got Ake left back, Dumfries right back. The midfield's probably the issue for them, but I don't think they've been like outclassed in midfield. They just haven't got as much quality as maybe other teams in there. But then up front with Memphis and Gakpo and Simons, I think they've got enough to kind of to get through against some very average teams. So I'm going to go for a France-Netherlands final at this stage.
I should mention, by the way, I didn't mention Portugal's odds earlier on. 13-2 they are to go on and claim another Euros success. We can't leave this outright chat and the tournament chat overall, Mark, without mentioning Georgia, because it's a heck of an effort for them to get to where they are now in the last 16, and not only to get there, but also the way they've done it as well.
Yeah, I mean, a great result for this show, wasn't it? Because we tipped Georgia to beat Portugal at 7-1, and they did the business last night. I mean, I think they've been the joy of the tournament, haven't they? They've faced a lot of shots, so I do fear for them against Spain, but I love the way that they play. It's not that they're like a Greece from 2004, are they? But they like to be solid defensively. But when they break, they throw players forward. They cause teams so many problems. Kvaratskhelia, I think, finally showed kind of the world what he's about. He hadn't actually been that amazing, had he, in the first 2 games against Portugal. Some of the runs were incredible. The strike partner up front, there's a nice balance to what they're doing all over the pitch. I've mentioned balance a lot in the show, but I do think it is so important in international football to have balance, because there's just too many managers, and Gareth Southgate might not be listening to this, but he can fall into this bracket, that just, right, I've got these great players, like, let's put them in the team and hope it works, or that, let's sort of start playing people. When England used to do it, didn't they, with Scholes left midfield just because he was a good player. And I just don't think you can do it. You need to have a balance to your side. And Deschamps, I mean, France have reached 3 of the last 4 major tournament finals. They've got balance, haven't they? Like, you could argue that, Kingsley Coman should be in the team, or I don't know, they should play Giroud up front, or they should do this, they should do that, but they don't, because he wants to have balance in the team. It's right. Who's my best winger? It's Dembele. Right, he plays. The others have to start on the bench, and Georgia at a lower level have got balance to their team. And I think it's been great for the tournament that they've reached this sort of knockout stage, because their bravery's been rewarded. They've got Spain next, so their bravery's been rewarded in the knockout plays, but then maybe not in terms of who they've got to play in the last 16.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal effort from Georgia. Let's turn our attentions now to the biggest head scratcher of Euro 2024, and that is England, because up next they will face Slovakia in the last 16. Sunday at 5 p.m. is the date and time to make a note of. In terms of the latest betting, England are as short as 2-5 to claim the victory. It's 100-30 the draw. Slovakia 8-1. They've been very fortunate with a draw. We've already mentioned that, Mark, but Gareth Southgate has got a whole host of things to think about now in terms of team selection ahead of that game on Sunday.
Oh yeah, he has. I mean, maybe he's helped out a bit by the fact Phil Foden has travelled home, hasn't he, to be with his partner, and just about to have a baby. Like, when he comes back, I wonder if Southgate thinks, well, hold on, I can say he's not trained, so I'll bring in somebody like Anthony Gordon just to hold the balance out there on the left-hand side. I actually think Foden was maybe England's best player against I can't remember, Slovenia, wasn't it, on whatever day it was. I mean, it was such a bad game, I've sort of forgotten about it. But he was the one that was, I felt, trying to make things happen. And you might even argue that Bellingham's been dreadful for the last 2 games. Now, he's a superstar player, just won the Champions League with Real Madrid. It'd be a big call to drop him. But I think he has to do something in that team, because I just, for 3 games now, just hoping it kind of clicks. I think it's the wrong thing to do. Mainu was somebody that I wanted to see in the team, and I think we will get that now. I think he'll be in instead of Conor Gallagher. I'm not against Bukayo Saka, and I just wonder if one of them has to come out of the team, whether it's Saka, for what I was just saying earlier on about it's not always about just playing all of your best players. Because I think Saka, when he plays for Arsenal, he drifts in, doesn't he? But then you get Ben White going round the outside, getting the width for Arsenal. He's coming inside for England, but Foden's coming inside, and it's just everything's blocked up. So I think, like, Bowen played well when he came on against Serbia, and then Cole Palmer, there was a definite spark when he was on the pitch against Slovenia. So I just wonder if that's an area we could look at. Another possible one, if you do want to keep Saka in, I wonder if you could play Alexander-Arnold at right back and move Kyle Walker over to left back, on the basis that Kyle Walker, like, nothing's coming down that left-hand side anyway from Trippier. So why not just play Kyle Walker there, and at least you get some creativity on the right. And
I think that would make a huge difference, Mark. I think, the fact that if you are going to play Foden on that side, Walker has that connection with him at club level. Walker also has the pace to be able to get back and defend if needs be, which, no disrespect to Trippier, he's getting on a few, in years in terms of like top level football, but also as well, he's being asked to play out of position. So I wouldn't necessarily attribute any blame to him, but I just think Walker's pace and that link with Foden would make it so much better. And on the other side, Alexander-Arnold would have more time to pick out a pass, because let's face it, other than maybe Spain and France, there aren't necessarily that many wingers with pace that are going to cause those fullbacks problems.
No. So I mean, maybe Southgate is listening, and that's the one he needs to do. I also think you bring Alexander-Arnold into the team in his proper position, you get delivery from the right hand side, and that brings Harry Kane into the game more with crosses. I mean, Kane's had 1 or 2 crosses to go at in this tournament. One he hit the bar with, the other one, like, Gallagher probably should have got his head on it, and then Kane wasn't able to. So I think that the service hasn't been right up to the forward. So Yeah, maybe it's something like Pickford in goal, Alexander-Arnold, Stones, Gay, Walker, Mainu, and Rice as the midfield two. Let's give Saka maybe one more opportunity on the right. Bellingham and Foden with Kane, but I wouldn't. If Gordon comes in or if Cole Palmer comes in, I'm not complaining at this stage.
And that's the one thing that England have got in their favour, is that they've got lots of options off the bench if it isn't going well. And, there's been a lot of criticism for Gareth Southgate. I suppose what we would say is that he has tried to change things around, because clearly he's seen that it's not been working. And I think that, there may well be a couple of changes for that Slovakia game. We could talk about England all day, Mark. Let's have a quick word on Slovakia and what we can expect from them.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you, because I think that one of the problems there, Warren, is the fact that he's so defensive that the team's playing 10, 15 yards further back than they need to. I can't believe that the players are taking that upon themselves. So I will just disagree with you. But in terms of Slovakia, I was impressed with them against Belgium up until a point, in that they attacked well when they had the ball, and then I wasn't sure about them defensively. I thought they got away with it somewhat, because the VAR, and there were many occasions when Belgium might have scored and probably should have. Then in the second game, they played really well in the first half against Ukraine and tailed off in sort of the second period, and Ukraine came back. I didn't see the game against Romania, but it didn't surprise me that it ended in a draw, because that suited both teams. And while for anyone that did watch it said that there wasn't, there was no skullduggery going on, but I just think attitudes are what they are, really, when you need a point to qualify, particularly when you're a nation that doesn't sort of qualify regularly for the knockout stages. So totally understand their approach. I think that what they've got in their favour is a coach in Calzona that knows a lot of the players have come through or played in Italy, and so there is a bit of a club side feel to them, even though they don't play for the same teams. I mean, even he was coaching in Italy this season, because he had the last couple of months at Napoli, where he was sort of managing Lobotka, who's the key player for them in midfield, makes them tick. They've got sort of energy, tough tacklers in midfield like Duda. Centre half in Skriniar that is of a level that would suggest he could sort of look after Harry Kane and not give him too many opportunities. They've been bright in the forward areas, but lack that quality. I think it's fair to say in the final third. But they're good in midfield, and I mean, look, if England play to the level that we know they can, they win the game. But if they play like they have throughout this tournament, I just don't think we can say that they will.
No, and I think that's a fair assessment. I think pretty much 99% of England fans would say they don't know what to expect from Sunday's game. With that all taken into account, Mark, what are you looking at in terms of your best bet for this clash?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Slovakia or draw double chance at around 2-1. I mean, just look at the way that England have played against Denmark and against Slovenia, and can you really? Can you honestly want to back them? What they do say about 2-5. I mean, you just can't back them at 2-5. They've scored 2 goals. I'm not even sure if they're any good defensively, because nobody's come out and had a go at them yet.
Yeah.
And when Denmark did, it looked wobbly. So I'm not even sure that they're as secure at the back as a couple of clean sheets would have us believe. But yeah, I mean, just trust your eyes. On 3 matches we've seen so far, you just can't back England at 2-5. It might be one of them games that's a no bet for a lot of England supporters, and that's absolutely fine. But I think if you are looking to have a bet in the 90-minute market, I think I'd want to be on England not to win.
If you are considering England at a very, very short price and you want something a bit bigger, then probably a bet builder is the way to look here, Mark, in terms of this fixture. What are you thinking about in terms of that?
Yeah, so it might not be one for England fans, though. I'm going for Slovakia over 0.5 goals. So essentially, Slovakia to score, a half-time draw, and the second half to have the most goals. I think what's going to happen in this game is that it will be a slog early doors, and then it might open up in the second period. But just alluding to, sort of going back to what I said earlier about England defensively, kept 2 clean sheets in 3 games. I don't know if I sort of trust that. I mean, Slovenia had no interest in attacking whatsoever. When Serbia went for it in the last 30 minutes, England were wobbling, and they definitely looked far from secure against Denmark. I mean, Gahey has played well for large spells, and yet in 2 of those games he's made big errors that haven't been punished, giving the ball away, and maybe that will come back to bite at some stage. And if England do look for fluency in that final third, they do overcommit, then they might get done as well. So yeah, I'm sort of anti-England for this game. As an Englishman, hopefully that they kind of prove me and many of the critics wrong, and I'd love to see them in the quarterfinals, but I just can't trust them at odds of 2-5.
No, completely understand that. And I think most England fans will be sat either behind the sofa or on the edge of the seat on Sunday watching the clash. Just to remind you again, it's a 5 p.m. kickoff for England against Slovakia in the last 16. Up next, we'll look through the remainder of those knockout games. Okay, Mark, well, we'll look at the rest of the last 16 matches now, and we'll start off with the opening game on Saturday. It's a 5 p.m. kickoff between Switzerland and Italy. I have to say, I've not been particularly impressed with what I've seen of the Azzurri so far. Switzerland around about 12-5 to win this clash. It's 2-1 the draw, and Italy 27-20. What are you looking at here, Mark, as your best bet?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this went to pens. But I'm going to go for Switzerland, draw no bet. I agree with you on sort of the reigning European champions. Just about got away with it against Albania. They lost to Spain. It was 1-0. I mean, it should have been 3 or 4. And they were seconds away from losing to Croatia as well. So I find it very difficult to sort of fancy them as favourites to win this game. Calafiori has been the one player that I've enjoyed watching for Italy, and he set up the goal against Croatia. Sort of John Stones-esque kind of centre-half that likes to come forward, step into midfield. Looks like he's really got something about him. He's suspended for the game. Switzerland, I think, have played well so far. I mean, they deservedly beat Hungary, in that opening game. They drew with Scotland in a match where they knew a point was enough to take them through, so it made sense for them to play that way. Against Germany, I was really impressed with them, and they conceded late in a 1-1 draw, seconds away from winning the game. Actually, as it's worked out, they've ended up in the bottom half of the draw that might be better for them. But, I mean, I think that, if there's to be a winner, I think it might be Switzerland. I'm going to go for the Swiss draw no bet. We've got Xhaka in midfield, you've got Akanji at the back, Sommer in goal. They've had some breakout forwards that have done well so far in this tournament. So, yeah, let's give the Swiss a chance.
Well, Saturday's late game is at 8 p.m. and it sees the host Germany up against Denmark. And Denmark often stubborn opponents at this sort of stage of a competition. Germany around about 4-7 to claim the victory, 29-10 the draw, and Denmark 5-1. What are you thinking here, Mark?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Denmark +1 on the Asian handicap. So you get your money back if Germany win by 1 goal. I mean, if you take out the Scotland game, have Germany been that good? And I would say maybe not. I mean, the Hungary match, Hungary are out, aren't they? So we that group hasn't even produced a best third place team. And I thought Hungary had their moments in that game. Too many that would, make me want to back Germany at 4-7 to win this match. Tar suspended. There's big doubt over Rudiger, so definitely got to change one of the centre halves. Might have to change both of them. And as you just mentioned there, Denmark are kind of what they are. They're a stubborn team. Don't lose too many matches. I mean, they've clearly got their limitations, but I don't expect them to be kind of overawed by facing Germany. They'll probably enjoy playing on the counter attack rather than sort of having to force the issue. So far, you can go through it. Better side against Slovakia, better side against England. I thought that from what I've seen in the highlights, the better side against Serbia. So even if they lose, I don't think they'll get blown away. So yeah, Denmark +1 on the Asian handicap.
Let's move on to Sunday now. I mentioned earlier, of course, that England-Slovakia is the early game. The evening game sees another big favourite in action. Spain around about 1-5 to claim the victory against Georgia, who are as big as 12-1, and the draw around about 6-1. Am I assuming that you're going here with Spain, Mark?
Yeah, you'd be right there. Warren, I'm going to go for a 2-0 correct score. Spain look very composed. I have my sort of doubts, as I've already expressed, really, as to whether they've got that cutting edge to put teams away. They did against Croatia, but then they didn't against in the next two games against Italy and Albania, which were both 1-0. But they're not giving up very many opportunities at the moment. I mean, you can question what they've played. Again, it was one of the groups that didn't throw up a best third place team. But you can only beat what's put in front of you, I suppose. Georgia have conceded 71 shots so far, so that might get up to around about kind of 90, 95 by the time Spain have finished with them. 2-0 just it's the favourite in the correct score market, and I think it feels like the most likely outcome, given how Spain are less likely to get hit on the counter-attack than some of the teams that Georgia have already played because of Rodri and the way that they control midfield.
The football feast continues on Monday with another two last 16 games, starting at 5 p.m. where France face Belgium. France around about 10-11. The draw 11-5 and Belgium 7-2. I just sit there a little bit with England, Mark, the same with Belgium. Sit there scratching my head and thinking, I just don't know why they're not performing to the level they probably should be with the players they've got. And France look like they're going to be too strong for them.
Yeah, I thought France were going to be I had France a fair bit shorter than what they're going off here. So I always worried when that happens. Maybe I've missed something, but I don't think Belgium are any good. They got Kevin De Bruyne, who's brilliant, but I look at the rest of the side and I don't see that much to get excited about. You know, they struggle to get the ball to De Bruyne. So he drops deep, and then because he drops deep, they then can't get the ball to Lukaku. You know, Doku head down merchant. You know, he might do something good every now and then, but I've got him down as like a bench player or somebody that makes an impact. But when you're asking him to like carry a team's threat, doesn't work really. I mean, France will, with their defensive midfielders they've got, can nullify De Bruyne. You've got Saliba on Lukaku, someone like Koundé against Doku, and then you've got Jan Vertonghen against Kylian Mbappe. I think France win the game, and that's why I think they're a good price on the outright betting, because this is seen as a reasonably close matchup in the last 16 and a difficult game for France. I'm struggling to see it. I might have got it completely wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, but you know, I fancy France here. You know, to I don't think they've been as bad as England. You know, they've not sort of didn't top the group, and they beat Austria with an own goal. But like I said, I think they deserve to beat Austria. Netherlands, Mbappe didn't play. They missed a few chances in that game. Poland, like the goalkeepers had a stormer for them, and you know, France just missed a lot of chances and gave away a stupid penalty, by the way, which was saved, and incredibly unfair that Lewandowski's allowed to take that run up and then the goalkeeper gets penalised. But there you go. But yeah, I'm going to go for a France win. And I think Tedesco, the Belgian manager, I think you were sort of referencing it earlier, like I'm not sure about him at all.
I have to say as well, penalties are a big bugbear of mine at the moment. How players are being allowed to pause or hesitate in the run-up is just ridiculous. But that's for another day, I'm sure. Let's have a look at Monday's 8 p.m. game now. Portugal against Slovenia. Portugal around about 2-5. The draw 7-2, and Slovenia as big as 15-2. Can you see past Portugal here, or is it going to be straightforward, Mark?
I think it'll be straightforward. Going for Portugal to win and under 3.5 goals. Slovenia's 3 games so far haven't been the best watches, have they? Let's say that, really. Only 4 goals in their games. And I think they'll make it difficult for Portugal. It'll be very similar to the game that Portugal had against Czech Republic, where it's attack against defence, long balls from Slovenia. That's the way they've been trying to attack. That was the way the Czechs tried to attack. But at some stage, I would expect Portugal's quality to come through. I mean, once England stepped it up against Slovenia, they were sort of struggling, I think, in that last 15 minutes. And yeah, Portugal played properly. I think they win the game.
And there are two more last 16 ties. The last two on Tuesday. Firstly, at 5 p.m, Romania, who have been one of the surprise packages so far, take on the Netherlands. Romania around about 13-2, the draw 100-30, and the Netherlands around 4-9. And bearing in mind what you said about the Netherlands earlier, Mark, I suggest that you think this will be relatively straightforward for them.
I do, yeah. I'm going to go for Memphis Depay, first goal scorer, around about 9-2. He's had 9 shots so far. He's got XG of 1.1, which is both of those are the highest in the Netherlands side, even though Gakpo's got a couple of goals already. He was off target, wasn't he, in that first game against Poland? Had the opportunities, just didn't take them. I mean, against France, it's a difficult task when you're up against Saliba. In the third game, scored, and I thought he took that goal fantastically well. He was somebody that came into the tournament lacking fitness. I think, he's been able to get minutes under his belt. You might see a sharper Memphis in the knockout stages. And yeah, I'm not convinced by Romania at all. I think the quirk of the draw got them through because I mean, they finished on top of a group where I think they were the worst team in it. But there was like nothing between first and fourth, was there really? It was just, one of those things really, that they finished on top and play that group again and that they might come bottom.
Yeah, no, one of the quirks of the qualifying, I would suggest. The last game in the last 16, Tuesday at 8 p.m, could well be the most entertaining of what we've seen so far. Austria against Turkey. Austria 9-10, the draw around about 12-5 and 100-30 Turkey. What's your thoughts here, Mark?
Both teams to score at 5-6. Totally agree. It's the last game of the sort of last 16. Might be the best. I think it'll be wide open, judging by what we've seen so far. I mean, Austria, 2 of their games, the Poland game and then the Dutch game were great watches. I enjoyed the French match as well. It was probably more intriguing than say just gung-ho end-to-end like the other two were. I mean, Turkey have lived up to kind of just every stereotype you kind of expected of Turkey, even down to the fact that their match kicked off properly against the Czechs last night, where I don't know if the referee stopped booking people yet. He was just getting the yellow card out, and just everyone seemed to pick one up in sort of that last minute or so. Problem for Turkey is that Çalhanoğlu is suspended, and that's a big ban for them, because he's a really important player for them. They've got young, exciting players up front, bit headstrong defensively. Çalhanoğlu is just the one in midfield that kind of gives them the direction. So I wonder how they get on without him. I think I think if Turkey were at full strength, I think it would be a game that might cause a surprise. Austria absolutely pumped Turkey in a sort of pre-tournament friendly in March. It'll be closer than that 6 was then, but we might get just as many goals this time around.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're going to pick one match of the last 16 to watch, it will be that one. There'll be entertainment for certain. So Mark's gone through every single one of the last 16 games. We're going to have a look now at what he's suggesting in terms of the accumulator pick for the knockout stages.
Yeah, going to go for Spain to beat Georgia. I mean, you could argue it's sort of the best team against the worst team in the competition. I think that's maybe sort of slightly harsh on Georgia, but certainly from a FIFA ranking point of view, and I expect their tournament to end. France to beat Belgium. I just think that France are being underrated, and I've not been as downbeat on their chances. What the bookmakers are, and Netherlands to beat Romania. I thought Romania were very fortunate to win that group.
And then finally, the NAP selection, Mark, for the last 16.
Yeah, Allez les Bleus. I'm going for sort of France to win their local derby against Belgium. I just see matchups all over the pitch that don't make sense from a Belgian point of view. We've not yet seen a team properly attack Belgium because they've been up against 3 fairly limited sides. If you go through it, I mean, Romania, Ukraine, and Slovakia. I think the shortest priced team outside of Belgium in that group was 100-1 Ukraine. So they've had absolutely nothing in their group. They've still made like a mess of it to finish second, and now they're up against Mbappe, Dembele, Griezmann, that midfield with N'Golo Kante sort of playing up to a standard that I didn't know he was still capable of. Saliba in goal, Saliba at the back, Magic Mike in goal. They could probably play Saliba in goal, and Lukaku would still find a way to miss. So yeah, I'm going to go for France to beat Belgium.
I have to say, the way that Wout Fast struggled to keep a hold of the Ukrainian forwards, I think he's going to have a real task on his hands against Kylian Mbappe. Yeah, it should be an intriguing round of last 16. Of course, we'll be back later in the tournament to look ahead to the quarterfinals and the semis and the final, of course, as well. So for the time being, it's goodbye from myself and Mark. Don't forget, of course, to like and subscribe and comment. Plus, you should also check out the latest episode of The Sweet Spot as well. Dave Clark and Steve Palmer going through the latest golf betting suggestions. We'll be back next Thursday then to discuss the quarterfinals. Enjoy your football and please remember to gamble responsibly.